On this episode of Love on the Rocks, we've got a real-life horror story that'll send chills down your spine. A family brutally murdered in their own home, and the twisted, sinister plot behind it could be ripped straight from the darkest crime dramas. We're talking about the Romeoville Massacre. Alberto Rolon, his wife Zoraida Bartolome, and their two young boys, Adriel and Diego, all wiped out in a cold-blooded killing spree that rocked a quiet Illinois suburb on September 17, 2023. And get this, even the family dogs weren't spared. It's every bit as horrifying as it sounds.
Really a true tragedy. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But the detail.
Yes, gruesome. This wasn't just some random act of violence. Oh no, this was planned, orchestrated, every single piece falling into place like a tragic, deadly puzzle. Police zeroed in on a suspect almost immediately, Nathaniel Huey Jr., Zoraida's former lover. Cue the love triangle drama. But like any juicy tabloid tale, it goes deeper. Huey's fiancée, Ermalinda Palomo, enters the story and takes us down a rabbit hole of deception and manipulation that you won't believe.
It's incredibly intriguing. It really is. It's not every day we see a case that hinges on such a complex web of relationships and calculated manipulation. It wasn't just a random act of violence, though. The police zeroed in on a person of interest almost immediately.
Yes, Nathaniel Huey Jr., who had a previous relationship with the female adult victim, Zoraida Bartolome.
And Huey wasn't just some average Joe.
Nope, he had a rap sheet that should have set off all alarm bells. DUIs, battery charges, and wait for it, a court order banning him from owning firearms. Yet somehow, this walking red flag got swept into a deadly plot that reads like a psychological thriller. And it became clear to investigators that Huey Jr. had a connection to Bartolome.
So this is where the love triangle element comes in, right? But there's got to be more to it. I mean, affairs, sadly, aren't that uncommon. What made this one spiral into such a horrific act?
To answer that question, we need to take a close look at Ermalinda Palomo. Palomo wasn't just aware of Huey's past with Zoraida. She was plotting behind the scenes. She spun an elaborate web of lies so sickeningly complex, it included fake online identities and burner phones. The kicker? She convinced Huey that Zoraida was a mole for a dangerous drug cartel out to get him. Yes, a fictional cartel. She manipulated her fiancé into believing he was fighting for his life, driving him to commit murder in the name of survival. But it gets even darker. Palomo didn't stop at manipulating Huey. She also wormed her way into the victims' lives, feeding them lies about Huey being a threat. She was playing both sides, stoking Huey's paranoia while isolating the family. Talk about a masterclass in manipulation.
Wait, what? How could someone fall for something so outrageous?
That's the terrifying part of this case. Palomo exploited Huey's insecurities and fears, and with his troubled past, she knew exactly how to control him. And it worked. Over time, her lies became his reality. With every lie, every twisted fact, she led him down a path of no return, driving him straight into the brutal, calculated murder of an entire family. Huey agreed to the heinous act, believing he was eliminating a threat. But it was all a lie. And to make matters worse, Palomo didn't just manipulate him into the killing. She helped plan the whole thing. From researching the family's home to plotting escape routes, she was in it from start to finish, guiding him every step of the way.
Okay, so we know Palomo went to extreme lengths to manipulate Huey, but how did this manipulation actually lead to the murders?
Huey Jr. and Bartolome developed an extensive romantic relationship after they met while working at an engineering company. After Palomo learned of her fiancé's affair, she created a series of fake social media accounts and pretended to be a Mexican criminal organization. Under that guise, she contacted Huey Jr. and Bartolome and revealed details of their affair to threaten them. Communications with Nathaniel eventually lead Ermalinda to convince Nathaniel he was under constant surveillance by the organization and that the leaders questioned his loyalty and trustworthiness.
This is crazy.
Yes, it's wild. Based on years of communication, Nathaniel's response seems to indicate he fully believed the information being fed to him by Ermalinda, but did not know Ermalinda was the person he was communicating with. After discovering the affair between Huey and Bartolome, Palomo used fake social media accounts to convince Huey Jr. He was part of a Mexican and Bulgarian criminal organization, police said. She also convinced Huey Jr. there was a mole planning to attack him and told him 2 days before the murders that Bartolome was the mole targeting him.
Wow, really?
On September 16, 2023, around 3:17 a.m., Palomo drove Huey Jr. to the murder scene and back. She remained in the car when he allegedly carried out the crime, according to a police report. The family of 4 was shot dead by a 9mm pistol, a combination of 20 times in their Romeoville home. Police discovered the murdered family the next day. Romeoville police separately tracked down Huey Jr. and Palomo and questioned them. The two denied any involvement in the killings, and at the time, there was no solid evidence, so they were sent home.
That's so cold-blooded and heartless.
Eventually, phone records analyzed by the FBI revealed a constant stream of communication between her and Huey, leading up to, during, and even after the murders. I'm told records and car data corroborated their movements, painting a very damning picture of their coordinated actions. They even found searches on Paloma's phone about the layout of the family's home and different ways to stage a crime scene.
It's incredible how much information we leave behind in our digital trails, right? It's like a silent witness to our every move.
Exactly. And in this case, that digital trail became the key to unraveling Palermo's web of deception. But the most chilling piece of evidence, in my opinion, was a text message she sent Huey right after the murders, where she reportedly said many murders go unsolved.
That sends chills down my spine. She was so cold and calculating, even offering reassurance in the aftermath of such a horrific act.
Yeah, it's like she was completely detached from the reality of what had just transpired.
That's a hallmark of a skilled manipulator, right? They often create a distance between themselves and the consequences of their actions, allowing them to justify their behavior and maintain control over their victims. It's just unfathomable.
It really is. And to think all this stemmed from jealousy.
It's a stark reminder that there are some very dark and twisted people in this world.
Absolutely. And if you think that's wild, wait until you hear what happened next.
Oh no, what happened?
By September 20th, investigators considered Huey and Palomo suspects in the case, so the two decided to flee. While on the run in Catoosa, Oklahoma, they went into a Walmart, and once they exited the store, they were spotted and recognized by Catoosa police. Car chase ensued and ended with Huey Jr. crashing the car in a fiery explosion. Huey allegedly shot Palomo after the crash and turned the gun on himself and died from a self-inflicted wound. Palomo was sent to the hospital where she died.
So he chose the coward's way out.
Newly obtained records document that Huey Jr. allegedly confessed to his mother that he was the killer.
This story is an example of how jealousy, left unchecked, can fester and transform into something so destructive. It's heartbreaking to think he confided in someone, perhaps feeling a sense of guilt or remorse, but still ended up on that tragic trajectory. Did the investigation ever reveal what his mother did, if anything, after hearing this confession?
Unfortunately, no.
You have this family wiped out, a man driven to commit an unimaginable act, and his fiancée pulling the strings from the shadows. And in the end, both Huey and Palomo are dead, following that police chase and crash in Oklahoma. Was it ever officially ruled a murder-suicide?
That's where the official reports get a bit murky. Initially, the Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office was investigating the cause and manner of their death, but it seems the case in Romeoville ultimately closed with the conclusion that Huey and Palomo were solely responsible for the murder. It's astonishing to believe that a woman who was both a mother and a grandmother could be the mastermind of such a vicious and heinous crime.
So while justice in a way was served, it offers little solace to the families left behind, right? And it certainly doesn't answer all the questions swirling around this case.
You're right. We're left grappling with the whys and hows of it all. How could someone be so easily manipulated? What drives a person to orchestrate such a calculated plan?
This story has given us a lot to think about, as difficult as it was to unpack. And to all our listeners, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button so we can bring you more captivating stories about relationships that take a wrong turn. And in this case, a very dark and twisted turn. Until next time, take care.